This is a true and accurate account of the events occurring at Melleray Grotto. This film has been commissioned by Melleray Grotto Committee for the sole purpose of spreading our Blessed Lady's message.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
In 1982, Father Celestine, the Cistercian monk from Mount Melleray Abbey, placed, with the help of some local men, the statue of Our Lady of Lourdes high up on the cliff face of this natural grotto. 3 years later, in August 1985, Our Blessed Lady herself visited here, appearing to many people and delivering messages and warnings for the world to 2 young boys.
It was in this little grotto, 1 mile below the Cistercian monastery of Mount Melleray, in the Knockmealdown Mountains, that Our Blessed Lady chose, on Friday evening, the 16th of August, 1985, to appear to a 17-year-old local girl, Ursula O'Rourke, and for the following week to appear and speak to 2 young local boys, Tom Cliff, aged 12, and Barry Buckley, aged 11, giving them messages and warnings of impending world catastrophe.
That evening, Ursula came here with her mother, younger sister Mary, and brothers John and young Donal. Having recited the rosary, the family commenced to leave the grotto.
When I looked up at the statue for the first time, I noticed that Our Lady's face was changing and that she was turning her head in 4 directions. I didn't believe it at first, so I turned away my eyes and I looked behind me and I looked at the trees and I looked up again for the second time, and this vision was still there. Her hands were joined and she was praying. She was turning her head in 4 directions, up towards heaven, down towards me, and standing over there to the left and to the right. And her cloak was blowing in the wind, like rippling along. And the end of her, I didn't see the pedestal, I couldn't see where she was standing on. Only the end of her was her cloak. I looked up for the second time and I still didn't believe it. And I turned away and I looked at St. Bernadette, and as I lifted my eyes, St. Bernadette would move also. And St. Bernadette didn't change at all. So I looked up for the 3rd time and I finally realised that I was I was having a vision of Our Lady. So I joined my hands. I had my hands down by my side, so I pulled them up and I joined them. And I blessed myself. And I said, "You are the Queen of Heaven." And she smiled. And I said, "Please bless all my family." And she smiled even more, and I kept shouting, "Why me? Why me? Why did you pick me?" And I started to cry. And all the shrubbery all around her changed. It formed a very dark green, and it spun all around Our Lady, and it made a really shiny, glowing white.
Thus the wonderful events at the grotto commenced, events which were to shake the very fibre of life in the surrounding locality for the following week and thereafter.
Saturday, the 17th of August. During the afternoon, a local woman, Rita Coleman, came to the grotto to pray with her daughters Sandra, aged 13, and Carol, aged 6. They sat on the little bench on which for the following week the boys were to sit receiving the visions and messages of Our Lady. They were saying the Hail Mary when they noticed the statue changing. The whole statue was glowing white and the blue sash disappeared. Then the face changed to our Lord's face, bearded and dark hair to shoulders, also glowing. This lasted perhaps for a quarter of an hour. Throughout the night, as word spread around, many locals called to the grotto. Shortly after midnight, there were about 7 people praying. They had a torch on the statue. Among those present were Joseph O'Rourke and his wife Marie. They noticed at about 12:30 a.m. that the statue was moving from side to side. Then they noticed that the hands of the statue were no longer joined in prayer, but were down by the statue's side as on the miraculous medal. Then the apparition turned around. This vision faded and became the normal statue. Sunday, the 18th of August, 1:30 p.m. There were about 20 people in the grotto. Among these were Breda Lyons and her daughter Breda, aged 18, from Lismore. The rosary having been recited, Mrs. Lyons saw Our Lady in the place of the statue, a full-length vision dressed in a white robe with black belt. Our Lord's face was of sallow complexion, dark beard, and hair to the shoulders. The statue of Our Lady was not visible. The background around the apparition was blurred. Mrs. Lyons' daughter also saw our Lord, his white cloak blowing in the wind, hands joined, lips moving. Then Our Lady appeared, beautiful, aged between 20 and 30, pale complexion, white cloak with the blue sash. She moved gracefully, head turning towards the road, her joined hands unclasping in slow, graceful movements. She appeared to be sad. Our Lady took one step forwards, much to Breda's alarm, as she thought Our Lady would fall. Later, at about 4:30 p.m., a local farmer, Jim McCarthy, was praying in the grotto when he noticed the statue changing. A mist or fog came over the statue. Then our Lord's face shone through and the mist cleared. Our Lord's face remained on the statue for a short time. Since that day, this man, on his daily visits, sees our Lord's face and also that of Padre Pio, interchanging with that of the statue.
It was news of this which brought the Cliff family to the grotto on Sunday the 18th. Having said some prayers, Tom noticed the statue of Our Lady changing. First he saw the statue move back and forth, then the cloak blowing in the wind. He noticed a silver crown with stones on her head and golden hair flowing to the shoulders. Our Lady spoke to Tom, who in turn shouted out, "Ma'am, ma'am, Our Lady is speaking." But stepping backward in fright, he did not hear what she had said. He then heard Our Lady say, "I want you to," or "I want to."
A woman standing close to Tom's mother said, "Oh my God, the Blessed Lady wants the child." Tom and his mother were very distressed and started to cry, leaving the grotto in a very upset state. So much so that Tom said that he would not go there anymore. Late on Sunday night, Our Lady appeared and spoke to Michael O'Donnell, a local farmer, who describes his experience.
I visited the grotto on this Sunday evening, and suddenly about 12 o'clock I could see Our Lord Parapia and Our Lady. And the next thing I'd see her looking onto the road and looking down onto the crowd. And suddenly the whole place started swirling and the whole background changed. And the next thing I could see Our Lady as a real woman, and she was coming down steps with roses on both sides. And as she was coming, I went backwards, and I could see Our Lady smiling, and she had a slight tan. And I went backwards, and she said, "Preserve Sunday for prayer." And suddenly I collapsed, and a few neighbours came to my aid, and as I revived again, I could see Our Lady as a real woman, and she was coming down the steps again, and I could hear the voice, "Preserve Sunday for prayer." And then some of the neighbours and my sister saw me transformed into a real old man.
This has been confirmed by the neighbours who assisted Mr. O'Donnell to his feet, and also by Mr. O'Donnell's sister.
Lord, make me a means of your peace. Where there's hatred growth, let me sow your love. Where there's injury, Lord, let forgiveness be my soul. Lord, make me a means of your peace. Lord, make me a means of your peace. Where there's doubt and fear, let me sow your faith. In this world despair, give me hope in you to share. Lord, make me a means of your peace. Lord, grant me to see and to share. Let to be consoled and to have console. Let me understood and to understand your good.
Monday, the 19th of August. In the afternoon, Mrs. Cliff brought Tom and his cousin Barry Buckley to the grotto.
We came to the grotto at 5 o'clock, myself, Barry and my mother. We noticed it started to change. We saw the cloak blowing, golden hair and the crown.
People were talking and children running around. The boys heard Our Lady say, "Behave." And a second time she said, "Behave." When the people did not heed her, the boys noticed tears flowing from her eyes.
We told the people that Our Lady was crying, and the people asked us to ask Our Lady why was she crying. We asked Our Lady, and Our Lady said, "I want prayer." Then we said the rosary.
Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
Having recited the 5 decades of the Rosary, the people stopped. The boys heard our Blessed Mother continue with the Hail, Holy Queen, as if correcting the people for their omission.
After the Rosary, Our Lady said thank you. When we got the first vision, the vision of Our Lady and the 6 apostles at each side of her. Then straight after that, we got the vision of our Lord in the room with the apostles, sitting around the table. Outside in the street were beggars and people shouting. Our Lord was given out to one of the apostles, and I thought he was given out to me, and I started to cry. Our Lady reappeared to Barry and told Barry to tell me to stop crying. Then I looked up, and Our Lady said be happy, and I kept on crying. And Our Lady said be happy, Tom, and I stopped.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
It was now about 7 in the evening, and Mrs. Cliff said they would have to go home. The boys noticed that this saddened Our Lady. Mrs. Cliff said to tell Our Lady that they would come back. Our Lady smiled. Shortly after 8 p.m., the boys returned to the grotto. As they settled on the seat, Our Lady appeared. Ursula joined them shortly afterwards. She told the boys to ask Our Lady how long she would stay. Our Lady replied, "A while." Somebody else also asked through the boys whether other people would see her. She replied, "In time." Then the boys had this wonderful experience.
Our Lady turned into a lady, and at the top she said, "I have a message." Then, walking down clay steps with roses each side, she wore a blue sash and white robe, and a red rose in her hair and brown sandals. At the end of the steps, about there, Our Lady said, "My message is peace and prayer, and tell the people that the water is blessed." Then walking back up the steps and turned round at the top, she said, "God is angry with the world. The people will have to improve and pray. My message is for all the people of God's church. The people have 10 years to improve and pray, and if not, this is what will happen." Then we got the vision of Noah's Ark. The stream in front of me turned into a river, and the railing there turned into a dam, and the people standing to the left of me, a village of huts appeared. Beyond the huts, there was men building a 3-deck boat on there. One of the men was a short, fat, oldish, white hair, no beard man. He'd raggy, torn, worn clothes. To the end of the boat, one of the boats was curved to a slope. It sprang backwards and hit a man. Just around here there was a church, and the people were taking furniture out of the church and making carts and gates out of it, and the people were jeering Noah. The people were still building the dam higher. They were bringing the stones to the dam in carts pulled by ox-like animals. Many animals were entering the ark up by a ramp at the side. Small animals in the bottom deck, big animals in the top deck. Noah, his wife, 2 other couples and 2 teenaged children in the middle deck. The wind and the rain came. Noah went to the back of the boat. A split came in the dam, and the water came. The water hit the boat and sent it flying in the air, and landed safely in the water. The remaining people in the village were swept away, and some people were shouting and screaming, climbing up the mountain, and they were all drowned.
Gathering the dead, he ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. from thence he shall come to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Ghost. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come.
Someone then asked a question through the boys. Why was there so much suffering in Ethiopia? Our Lady replied, it is the cruelty of the world.
Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Both boys, during the course of this night, received stationary visions from the Passion of Christ. The first one showed our Lord clothed in a dark robe, with his left side and shoulder exposed, with the whip marks from the scourging at the pillar quite visible, and the nail marks on his hands from the crucifixion. The second vision was of our Lord dressed in a red robe and bearing the crown of thorns on his head. The third was of Our Lady with the cross in front of her and slightly below. Her two hands rested on the arms of the cross. A dark cloud overhung this vision. This night Our Lady bade the boys goodbye as they parted from the grotto.
Tuesday, the 20th of August, a night of more warnings. Our Lady appeared to the boys after some prayer. She asked for several rosaries. Then she said to the boys the following messages, which were relayed over the public address system to the people.
I love the Irish people. I am praying with the people to God to forgive the Irish people. I want the Irish people to spread my message to the world. When asked how this could be done, she replied, Ye have ways yourselves of spreading my message. The world must improve. If the people would improve and pray, God would save Ireland. I want the people to accept my message from you. The people must pray more. The people must go to Mass more and receive my Son more often. I want the people to believe. The world has 10 years to improve. It must improve 10 times. I want the people to stop saying bad things about me and not to be mocking me.
These messages were given with pauses, and in some cases with prayers and hymns intervening. When Our Lady spoke, she usually appeared head and shoulders only, but very clear and large, a young tanned face, blue eyes, golden hair flowing in the wind. When delivering her messages, Our Lady always appeared at the right-hand side of the statue. Other times she appeared full length, as when she came to the water's edge.
Barry's father then asked a question through the boys. Could Our Lady intercede with our Lord to have the weather improve, to enable farmers to save the harvest? Our Lady replied, when the people will pray, the weather will improve. Shortly afterwards, Tom received the following biblical vision, where Jesus confronts doubting Thomas.
The apostles were sitting on the floor in an upstairs room. Outside in the street were slaves with chains in their legs and hands. Our Lord appeared in the room. All the apostles nodded their head except one. This apostle stood up as our Lord approached him, and our Lord showed him his hands and legs. This apostle then put his finger on our Lord's hand, and he bent down and put his finger on our Lord's foot.
also, Barry received a vision of Our Lady with grass-like vegetation growing rapidly in front of her and then parting, revealing Our Lady with the apostles on each side. Both boys saw the following stationary visions. The first, Our Lord dressed in white, with his arms by his sides, and also with his arms outstretched. The second, Our Lord dressed in a red robe, with his heart bleeding, the Sacred Heart. The holes were visible in his hands and feet. Third vision, 3 indistinct cloaked figures with faces blank standing behind the statue. It is worth noting that these visions generally lasted seconds rather than minutes. The boys said that it was difficult to judge time, but thought that the Noah's Ark scene lasted about 1 minute. Once Our Blessed Lady appeared to the boys, she took over and directed everything, asking for prayer, hymns, then speaking her messages and sending wonderful biblical visions. Sometimes during an interval between prayers, the boys would see and hear Our Lady saying the rosary in a soft, low voice. But the interesting thing is that she never used her own name. Example, Hail, full of grace, and again, Holy, Mother of God. Also frequently, a decade was recited in Irish. The boys would then hear her voice praying in Irish. The boys were very tired this night and told Our Lady that they would have to go. She replied, "That is all right. I will see you tomorrow."
Wednesday, August the 21st.
This was possibly the most momentous night of the wonderful week. By this time, thousands of people were converging on Melleray. All roads leading towards the grotto were crammed with people and cars.
This was a happy night. Our Lady asked time and time again for the hymn, "Peace is flowing like a river." It happened like this. Tom and Barry heard Our Lady singing the hymn, but not being familiar with it, they told Ursula what it sounded like, and she immediately recognized it. Sometimes during a silence between prayers, they would hear Our Lady singing the hymn and would tell the people over the public address system. The prayer leaders would then take up the hymn with the people. This night, Our Lady said,
God is pleased with Ireland. Ireland will be saved. I want the people of Ireland to convey my message to the world. I am praying for the sick and I bless them. The boys then received the following biblical vision.
The apostles were on a boat in a great storm. Our Lord was sleeping on the bow of the boat. The apostles were afraid because the wind and rain was lashing against the boat. The apostles woke our Lord. Our Lord stood up and said, "Be not afraid, for I am always with you," and put out his hands and told the rain to go back into the clouds and the wind to stop.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb.
What was the significance of this scene? Was it to illustrate that God could still turn back the catastrophe overshadowing the world if we would but turn to Him? Our Lady shortly afterwards gave the following messages.
I want Ursula to help you to make the people believe you. I am happy with the three of you. The hymn, Peace is Flowing Like a River, was followed by the following messages from Our Lady.
Sinners down at the altar,
The world must behave. I want the world to believe me. I want the world to get my message. I want all of ye to tell the world. Ye have ways yourselves of telling the world. My message is peace and prayer, and no more fighting in the world. Then followed this vision, the Nativity. Tom saw part of this scene only.
There's 3 tribes of people going down 3 roads. There's about 50 people in each tribe. The leaders had a camel, and each tribe had a pet camel. They all met in the open and camped. The 3 leaders rose in the middle of the night and followed the bright star.
Tom's vision stopped there, but Barry's vision started where Tom's left off.
3 wise men were on foot, leading a pet camel, following the star which arrived at the stable. Mary was to the right of the stable, leaning over and looking into a wooden manger. I could not see into the manger. Joseph was to the left. There was a cow and donkey which were lying down. Shepherds were at the front with 2 lambs. At the back of the stable there were stalls.
Fill my arms until the fullness.
What was the significance of this scene? Would it possibly have been portraying peace, which was so much uppermost in Our Lady's message?
Or was it illustrating the importance of the family in a truly Christian life? Or again, was it an illustration of faith? It was faith which brought the 3 wise men across many lands to Bethlehem.
I give to you. Take my time until the fullness. Find in me the trust you see. Take my hand, to you are preaching. All I have and all I do, I give to you.
Then a wonderful thing happened. Our Lady, the boys said, would make a movement to the people, and about 2 minutes later, to gasps of amazement, very many people saw the vision in varying degrees of intensity, from the statue turning towards the people on the road several times, to a vision of Our Lady herself. This revelation to the people lasted about 40 minutes, and hundreds of people were witness to it. 3 such people were Mrs. Helen Buckley, Orla Deavy and Mairead Coffey. At one stage the boys said that Our Lady held the infant Jesus in her arms. A number of people saw this. Our Lady was dressed in a dark robe, the only time thus dressed, and holding the infant Jesus in her left arm. With his mother, he looked down, smiling on the people in the grotto, and also to the people on the road, raising his 2 little arms up several times. Our Lady then said, "Ye must believe." Suddenly, One of the boys said, "She is coming down." By now the atmosphere in the grotto was electric. Our Blessed Lady continued, "I hope most of the people saw me." Gasps of astonishment again resounded around the grotto as many saw movement. "Be not afraid, I will not hurt you," she said. The boys' voices came across the public address. "She is walking down. She is near the little tree. Her hair is blowing in the wind. She is happy." At this stage, people were inclined to back away in fright. But Our Lady reassured them, "Be not afraid. I will not hurt you." After a pause, there were more gasps, as many people saw movement. Our Lady then said the following with pauses in between. The boys could see her as the full apparition of the Blessed Lady moving back and forth from time to time. "The world must behave," said several times during the night. "Be not afraid," as people were still apprehensive. "I hope you believe me. I want the people on the road to see me." "She is looking out towards the road," said the boys. "She is turning towards here. She is looking at the crowd." Again the people got uneasy, but Our Lady assured them once more, "Be not afraid, I will never hurt you. I want the people out on the road to see me. I want the people to come in and see me, because I will leave soon." However, there was no way the people could get in, because those inside did not want to leave to make room for those outside. There were thousands of people in and around the grotto. The stewards became very worried lest people might panic. However, the huge multitude remained extraordinarily well behaved. This was a very important night in one respect. Our Lady showed herself to the people to prove that she was present in the grotto. But she went one better than this. She told the boys beforehand that she was going to do so, and the boys announced this. It is estimated that several hundred people were witness to the apparitions in varying degrees. Thursday, the 22nd of August.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us all our trespasses. Yes, forgive us, Lord, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, free us from evil.
The creator of heaven and earth, and in Jesus
Both
Christ.
parents and boys arrived at the grotto shortly after 8 in the evening. Ursula joined them, and they went to their usual little seat, now railed off. The crowds were even bigger than the previous night. Cars lined both sides of the road all the way down to Cappoquin, a distance of about 3.5 miles. Shortly after some prayer, Our Lady appeared as usual. First the cloak of the statue blowing in the wind, with flowing golden hair. Then, as she spoke, the apparition became the very clear head and shoulders vision. A young tanned face with blue eyes, but this time wearing a veil. The first and only knight to appear thus. Turning towards the people on the road, Our Lady said, "Sorry," and turning back she said, "I want prayers." Always, when she requested prayers, the rosary would be recited. Then silence, giving Our Lady an opportunity to speak, which she invariably did. She asked for more prayers, and the hymn, "Peace is Flowing Like a River," and then said, "Ursula must guard you," meaning the boys. She repeated this again later. The world must improve, and the world must believe. If the world does not improve, the devil will take over the church. And again shortly afterwards, if the world does not improve, the devil will take over God's church in 10 years.
Then Satan appeared on Our Lady's left, laughing and jeering at her. She was weeping. Immediately Tom felt a needle-like pain in his ears, and Barry felt a sore lump in his throat.
The devil then appeared on Our Lady's left. He was laughing and jeering at Our Lady. His face looked like a long pointed nose, a pointed jaw, and boils on his face. He had stubs of horns, and he had bulging eyes, and he had bulging teeth. His claw-like hand, he held a 3-pronged fork, and his legs were like horse's legs, and he was a reddish-brown colour.
The vision lasted about 1 minute, when Tom said over the public address system that the devil had left and that Our Lady was happy again. This vision frightened Ursula and the boys, and disturbed many people who could not understand how Satan could appear with Our Lady. However, it should be remembered that Satan appeared at Lourdes also. Perhaps God in his wisdom allowed this vision in order to bring home to people that Satan does exist. It is worth noting that this was the only night that Our Lady appeared to the boys wearing a veil.
As this night drew to a close, Our Lady asked for more prayers, and the hymn, "Peace is Flowing Like a River." The boys said she was happy, and that she was praying to God, before finally announcing she had gone back into the statue.
Flowing out to you and me, spreading out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Let it flow through me, let it flow through me, let the mighty love of God flow out through me. Let it flow through me, let it flow through me, let the mighty love of God flow out through me. As I kneel before you, as I bow my head.
Friday, the 23rd of August. The boys, with their parents and Ursula, entered the grotto at about 8:30 p.m. Our Lady appeared, as usual, shortly after the children had settled on their seat. Huge crowds were present once again, all roads to the grotto being crammed with cars and people. Our Lady asked for many rosaries this night. She said, "With your faith and prayers, you can overpower the devil." Asking for more prayer, she said, "I want ye to pray harder," and repeated this several times. And again later, "I want ye to pray harder and harder." This was a night of prayer, One of the last things Our Lady said was, "I will show myself to more people in more places."
Speaking afterwards, the boy said that the vision of Our Lady was inclined to be fading away this night, and so the wonderful events of this momentous week were drawing to a close. Saturday, August the 24th.
At 3 p.m., Tom came to the grotto with his parents. After prayer, he noticed a statue moving back and forth. He asked the question requested by a local nun. "Are you the mother of Jesus Christ?" He got the following reply, "I am."
Our Lady did not speak to the boys again, and so the momentous events of the week at Melleray Grotto were over. What is the significance of these events? It is very evident that God has sent Our Lady to warn the world of impending catastrophe and to exhort the people to pray and turn back to God. Our Lady chose this grotto possibly because of its proximity to Mount Melleray Abbey, that powerhouse of prayer. The pilgrim searching for God must surely find him here.
Today we come, thy blessings to implore. Oh, touch our hearts, so full and so ungrateful, and make them Lord.
Since that wonderful week, very many people have witnessed visions in the grotto. Visions of Our Lady, our Lord, Padre Pio, and many saints. There are hundreds of such accounts on record with the Grotto Committee. Since May the 4th, 1986, the miracle of the sun has been seen many times. On that occasion, the sun, appearing as a white disk or host, came right down over the rim of the grotto and was seen by most of the people praying there. Within a matter of seconds, the sun came down a second time, spinning and radiating many beautiful colours. On the 1st of June, Mairead McCarthy and her cousin Judith Dorgan saw the sun miracle, as did many people in the grotto at the time. But as they were leaving, Jesus appeared to them.
And then we saw the face of our Lord replacing the face of Our Lady. He had long black hair and a black beard, and he was looking at us with a very serious face. Then it changed back into Our Lady.
She was the same age as the statue, much the same as the statue. She was praying and looking around. Her mouth was moving. She was smiling at us. Our Lord came again then, and she was still looking at us, very cross, angry kind of. And he looked out towards the road and down to the front, and he looked back at us again. Then he started to come towards me. I started to get frightened, and I said to Judith, "Could you see it?" And she said no. Then I started to cry. I thought I'd done something wrong. And Judith and I said, "What have we done wrong?" We caught hands and moved back. He was still coming towards us, and then he stopped and we started to move back. He came as far as the sign, I had the Immaculate Conception. Then he moved back to the statue again. Then we saw Our Lady. She was young. She'd long golden brown hair. She'd no veil. She was smiling. She was looking out towards the road and down to the front. She was looking all around. Then she looked at us and she was still praying. Then we saw Our Lord again. He was looking at us again, and then he blessed us. And then he looked out towards the road and he blessed the people towards the road, and he blessed down to the front, and then he smiled.
Was it a day
On the 15th of June, Donal Kelleher, Chief Executive Officer with the Waterford VEC, witnessed the sun miracle. But the sun then taking on the shape of what could best be described as a distillation flask, the neck portion extending across the sky southwards, and the bulb taking the shape and colour of a living, beating heart.
Now it was possible to see the auricles and the ventricles in the heart pulsating. Behind the heart there was a red and black cloud formation which seemed to be in extreme turbulence. Within a second or two the heart burst in a firework-like way, and it filled the horizon with a pinkish hue. The sun assumed its original place in the sky and its original colour and brightness. There were several people standing on the roadway, and all of them, with the exception of possibly one, saw what I had seen, and indeed some had far, far more profound experiences.
Fred Forsey, who is a Dungarvan man, has had many visions at the grotto. Our Lady has appeared and has spoken to him several times. Our Lord himself and also Padre Pio have appeared to him. On May the 17th, 1986, Fred was present in the grotto at an all-night vigil.
Dawn broke about 5 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock Our Lady appeared to me again, and she asked me would I get a cross put over the top of the grotto for her son Jesus, he wishes. And I asked Our Lady, would you please help me? So as you can see that the cross is being put up over the grotto here, and it is a wonderful, I think, because it gives the feeling of our Lord Jesus Christ himself here, and you have his mother, Blessed Virgin Mary, here as well. Then on the 17th of August, now this was the anniversary week, I was here in the grotto. So I looked up, and here I saw the sun spinning in the sky. It came down, smashed against the cross, and flames and sparks came off the cross. The whole cross turned a complete black, and then almost immediately it turned to red, and it started to drip like Jesus' blood, and immediately I could feel that the blood coming down off the cross. But it came down to the back of the grotto here, and the whole back of the grotto turned like a blanket of blood, red, the whole lot. It's the first time ever in this grotto that I really was shaking in my boots. So I had to sit down, and with that I looked at the candles that were lighting here behind me, and the flames of the candles were red, and the drippings were dripping like our Lord's blood, and it was really driven back to me as the passion of our Lord. After that, when I was sitting there, I could feel that the message that this grotto and our Lord is bringing with Our Lady is that Mass and the Holy Communion, based on prayer as well, will bring happiness and peace to this world. And I think this is the message, is it's peace and happiness through the Mass, Holy Communion and prayer.
Our Blessed Lady's message from Melleray Grotto is simple and straightforward, as her messages from the past have always been. It is a message of vital importance to the world, a message which will possibly stand side by side with that of Fatima. God is angry with the world, Our Lady said. The people have 10 years to improve and pray, and if not, then this is what will happen. The boys then receiving a vision of the Noah's Ark scene as an illustration of catastrophe. It is a message of hope also. The storm scene could mean one thing only, that if we would turn to God as the apostles did in the boat, we would be saved. Our Lady warned us about the power of Satan in the world today, And again she mentions 10 years. But yet again she gives us hope. With your faith and prayers, you can overpower the devil. Our Lady frequently used the words, behave and improve. In her messages to us, she told us how we were to achieve this. Preserve Sunday for prayer. The people must pray more. I want ye to pray harder. The people must go to Mass more and receive my Son more often. Here in Melleray Grotto, our Blessed Mother gave us, her children, a gift with these beautiful words. My message is peace and prayer. Tell the people that the water is blessed.
Sing to the mountains, sing to the sea. Raise your voices, lift your hearts. This is the day the Lord has made. Let all the earth rejoice. I will give thanks to you, my Lord. You have answered my plea. You have saved my soul from death. You are my strength and my song. Sing to the mountains, sing to the sea. Raise your voices, lift your hearts. This is the day the Lord has made. Let all the earth rejoice. Holy, holy, holy Lord. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. Sing to the mountains, sing to the sea. Raise your voices, lift your hearts. This is the day the Lord has made. Let all the earth rejoice. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice. He has turned our dead to life. Sing of the glory of God. Sing to the mountains, sing to the sea. Raise your voices, lift your heart. This is the day the Lord has made. Let all the earth rejoice. If we love heaven, the ocean song.
This is a true and accurate account of the events occurring at Melleray Grotto. This film has been commissioned by Melleray Grotto Committee for the sole purpose of spreading our Blessed Lady's message.